Good morning, PT on Ice crowd. Today is the 19th, November 19th. It's 8:30. My name is Mike Eisenhart, and I am with you this morning for The Daily Show, a little Monday with Pop. So I'm not sure if we'll have some live studio audience this morning, but I've got something that I think is a fun one, and I think it's something that I'm actually pretty excited about. It's a great time of year. Good morning, Allie. Hey, Sean. Looks like Matt's on. Hey, Matt. It's a good time of year to start discussing this stuff, and it's a good time of year to kind of put the seed in people's brain. There's been some really cool things kind of floating around, and I think today is a good day to kind of jump into it. So without further ado, I will start the watch, and we'll get rolling, and we'll do our 15 minutes. So, as you know, it's Monday, and it's kind of the Thanksgiving week, and if you're into that holiday or you sort of celebrate that in a big way, it probably has a special meaning to you, and I know it does for me. It's definitely one of those kind of special holidays, really because of what it represents. And the funny part about it, of course, is that it's the kind of thing that you grow up resenting. If you're alive and living in the Eisenhart household, it becomes the stuff of legend. When you grow up with a school teacher, elementary school teacher as a mom, you go around the table and you say what you're thankful for. And so when I'm one of 6 kids, so that's a lot. And now, of course, we all have kids, and so there's cousins and grandkids and you name it. And so it gets to be a pretty big table, right? So you've got this massive table, after we sort of say our prayer and do our thing, it often goes back to remember when we used to have to go around the table and say what we were thankful for? And you could watch kind of the years, in the development, right? Each of us had our own kind of like period of being, that bratty kid who would always say something snarky and try to make some sarcastic remark. Some of us didn't actually ever grow out of that stage. But then there are others who say things meaningful and it actually, comes full circle. And so now as a parent and as kind of as a sappy dad in many ways, I now look forward to those kinds of things. I actually want to hear from my kids, like what are you thankful for? It would be nice to know, because sometimes it doesn't seem like that's anything. But what I thought would be good in kind of prepping for that, this week and kind of thinking ahead, really beyond Thanksgiving and into the new year, is to get us all thinking about that as well. And I think there's been some cool kind of, signs of hope, signs of things going forward, and that there is really a moment to sort of be grateful. So over the last couple of weeks, it's not a mystery to anybody that I've been feeling like, kind of the dark before the dawn sort of a situation, just frustrating and certainly, with members of my own profession, just getting a little bit raw because it seems like there's just this negativity, this vibe of negativity. And it's easy to sort of dive down that hole and get stuck there. It's maybe harder to look around and say, hey, what are the signs of positive? What are the signs of growth? And how do we know we're getting somewhere, right? So I always imagine it as a journey. It's something that we've talked about at Base Camp for years, that we're sort of on this journey. It fits very well with sort of the method and madness at ICE. And so a lot of that kind of just sort of resonates with me. This idea that we're sort of, with a person on their journey, and that the journey is long, and that there are days where, you're not sure you're getting anywhere. You might be walking around in circles, it feels like. But ultimately that every one of us is on this journey. And that health is a critical sort of piece on board. And so for me, imagining it as a journey, I always sort of think of it as, you get over that hill, you're pioneering into a new space, you're going somewhere. I'm seeing lost network connection. Hopefully that came through. Somebody let me know if we're still on here. I hope we don't have the internet issue. But anyway, so what I was saying is I sort of imagine as we're on a journey, and thank you for that. And you get over the hill of whatever it is. You're climbing this mountain. You get over the hill, and then there's that scene that you always see in every sort of movie where you get over the hill and you're now seeing the ocean, right? You're sort of getting over that crest. Imagine what the folks who found the Pacific Ocean, the first time, and that experience, right, of kind of realizing that there's this vastness in front of you. and that you may have come to an end of this journey, or you may have to sort of change and build a new method to go to the next step on the journey. You now have to traverse water, and that's a totally different game than traversing forest or desert that came before that if you're going from east to west. So that's kind of how I imagine it. I imagine that as a professional, we're doing that as well, that we're on this kind of development journey, and that we're getting over the top of this major hill. And then over the last couple of weeks, we've had some tough climbing. I sort of think of it as like you're going up the face of a rock, and sometimes, people slip, and sometimes it can be very bad. But that we've now kind of crept over the edge. And the reason why I say that is because I'm seeing like signs of life in the conversations. People are talking about, how do we actually do this? How do we bring it to people? How do we begin to make it simpler? That was a concept that at this point, years ago, Karen Litzy and I had a conversation, and I sort of said, hey, I think physical therapy can be a lifestyle brand. And at the time, I got some pushback from people, and they said, oh, that you're dumbing it down, you're making it too easy. And I said, no, it's not about making it easy, it's about making it simple. It's about making it accessible for people, and about making health something that they can kind of grow into and build into. And so what that really comes down to is the fact that we're now seeming to be there. Like, I'm seeing this in the conversation, and it's super exciting for me. I see people talking about the fact that like education, is really at the root of what we do, and liberating people and liberating their thoughts and their beliefs, and allowing them to let go of some of the fears. Like, all of the pain science stuff is now blossoming a little bit more than just, hey, when a person is acutely in pain or when a person has chronic pain. It's gone now even one step further, which is, hey, this affects your entire well-being. This affects who you are and kind of how you behave, and this affects, sort of the people around you. It affects your community, it affects your family, it affects your loved ones. I mean, like, it's going to have your health and the piece of it and the parts of it are going to have this ripple effect outward. And I'm now seeing that in the conversation, and it's super, super exciting. I'm seeing another piece in the conversation where people are talking about kind of like the democratization of health. Like, let us tear it down. Let's the institutions around us, unfortunately, have become very much untrustworthy. Listen, I mean, it's okay if you don't trust the institutions. A lot of them have done things that are questionable at best. And so because of that, there's this like lack of trust in the marketplace, in society. And so people are sort of left in this void. They're in a sense lost with, all right, who do I believe? There's information everywhere, and some of it's good and some of it's not good, but who do I believe, and who can I really trust? And of course, I think that's an unbelievable opportunity for someone who is willing to say, hey, you can trust me, and here's why. I consider that to be the conservative care professional, the person who is actually there for a person's whole health and helping them kind of move along this journey. Allie and Perry and I were out in Colorado at the private practice section. We did a little pre-con event, and it was not a huge room. It was 20, 25 people in the room, but some of the conversations and some of the sort of dialogue was very, very positive. Some of the people in the room, very positive. Folks who have kind of taken their piece of their journey and said, hey, I kind of see where this is going. In business, they talk about a blue ocean strategy, right? Like instead of the red, oceans where you're fighting each other and the seas are red with blood from beating each other up, find new territory altogether. Deep, vast oceans, abundance. Find those areas. I really think that's where we're at. I think that maybe the gratitude of Thanksgiving is the time to do that, to just pause and think about the fact of, hey, what are we thankful for? Why can we be happy and have gratitude? We can be happy and have gratitude because there is actual signs of life, signs of progress, and both professionally and personally. So that's kind of where, I think the backdrop is. Imagine that journey, you get over the hill and you see this huge, vast ocean. So I think that the next step then is, okay, so now what? Now what? It's now safe to kind of begin to practice in this space, or safer. There will always be detractors. There will always be people who say, oh, that's not what you do. Don't push into that zone. And I think that, of course, we'll battle them back, and there'll be surges of that kind of attitude. But I'm actually seeing it differently. I'm seeing some of the folks who were the most staunchly against this, years ago, who are now starting to use these language, use this conversation, use this as a way of saying, hey, this is really what we do. Although we don't always know how to measure it, we don't always know how to put it into a special test, and I certainly can't cram it into an 8-minute unit. But this is really the essence of what we do as professionals. We help people to get a handle on their own well-being and help them to flourish. And we may do that primarily with physical means, but we would be foolish to think that that's all we do, that it isn't affecting their entire system, that it isn't affecting their brain, it isn't affecting their mind, it isn't affecting their heart, their gut, it isn't affecting their internal organs, and it isn't affecting their likelihood for future disease and their ability to flourish. So now we're starting to see that. So hope is sort of the next piece after gratitude, right? We've got this gratitude. Hey, we're thankful that we've slogged it out this far, and that the community of people who want to practice this way is growing. That's awesome. That's probably my biggest gratitude. But the second piece of it is that now there's kind of hope in this idea of being the trusted journey partner. That it's a hopeful scenario, and that more and more people are saying, look, it's about figuring out how to do this professionally. It's not about doing it. The doing it part is now we absolutely need to. We know there's a space for this. We know people need this in their life. What it really is the concept of, okay, now how best to do it. That's a very different scenario. The why is taken care of. The why is down. We've got it. It's the how exactly. We need to build a boat, right? We're looking at a huge blue ocean. It's staring us, and I mean, who knows what's on the other side of it? It's a little scary, a little daunting. It's deep, but we know if we have a boat and we build that boat and we get in that boat and we row together, that we can cross an ocean. And so I really feel like that's where we're at. And so in my 4 minutes, I want to kind of get us thinking that way. That 2019 will be here soon. I mean, it's right around the corner. Right? I mean, we're talking about less than a month and a half away. And I hope that 2019 will be what we need to kind of truly band together and begin to pull the oars in the same direction. Actually move this thing into the blue ocean because people are pulling together. Now, I don't know who is going to be on the boat, right? I don't know who's going to be there pulling, and I don't know how many there will be. And so obviously the size of the boat will be determined by the number of rowers. But I hope that 2019, that's where my hope comes in. I hope that 2019 is when we'll see the number of rowers increase. Now, how can you do that? Well, first, you can learn about it. You can learn about how exactly your interventions can have this full effect. You can have this kind of wide-reaching impact on the people that you serve. You can begin to experiment with it. Right? That's a great thing to do. Maybe you're already in that space and you say, hey, I want to try some of this. I want to actually do it. I want to work it into my evaluation every day. Or I want to, get out of the clinic entirely and get into the community and try some stuff. You can begin to collect information and help people see that others have done this. Right? Simply saying hey, I was trying it in the clinic, but I didn't have anything to show the next person. Well, it's social proof we know is huge. So talking to a client and saying, you've made such a huge life turnaround, can I use your story? Maybe make it anonymous and use your story. So we can do that as well. So in addition to experimenting, we can experiment with ourselves. What a great way to lead by just simply doing. Stop talking so much and start doing more. Start showing up and saying, hey, I'm the guy. Remember, I'm here. Again, I'm slogging it out. I'm consistent with my own health behaviors. I'm trying to slay my own demons. Find out what's stopping me from living a flourishing life. All of those things are things that we can do. Now, how are we going to try to support that? I guess is kind of the final piece. And I don't try to touch this all that often. But understand that we're trying to figure out how best to support the building and the rowing of the boat. The building and the rowing of the boat starts with knowledge and trust. I'm gonna leave it right there, right? That's the most important thing that any professional can do. Is building trust with the people around them through an honest discussion with knowledge, right? With decent knowledge. Knowledge alone does nothing. Right? Knowledge without action is useless. I mean, it's just, facts. It's interesting. You'd be fun at a bar or at a party, useless facts kind of a thing. I mean, there are tons of books written with that kind of stuff. But what does it really do? When it becomes a conversation And it helps people to begin to test their own thoughts and to guide slowly toward something better. That knowledge can get somewhere. So obviously we've tried to retool to pull that off. Starting in January, we'll have that first cohort of the base class, right? Like whatever you want to call that, the intro class. Now, if you're already, sort of done the CERT course, and then you may not need this. But what we've tried to do is design this for everyone, because we think that will start the conversation with them and allow them to start the conversation with people they care about, and which hopefully will start the conversation with more people that they care about. And you start to see how that ripples. And as that ripple goes, one or two people will connect and it will resonate, and they'll say, hey, I need to do more. And so what we've done is said, hey, we've got that for you too. Allie will teach some tools, like how to actually do this in your clinical space. Jeremy and will teach, more about how to actually unravel that complicated patient. The key of this all, right? The key of the whole thing is that we are over that hill looking at the blue ocean. And if you can't see it in your practice yet, keep showing up. It's gonna show. You're gonna see it. It's gonna be there. Go on Twitter, right? Go on Facebook. There's my time. Go on Facebook and look at the conversation. You'll see these little, and sometimes they're very little, rays of hope. This little light that kind of pokes through. And we hear in someone's voice, hey, I'm doing it. I tried it. It worked. I can't believe it, but it worked. I built it into a conversation I had yesterday, and I made headway, and it worked. And once that happens, more and more people come back and say, hey, remember that great thing you did for me? This is my friend. I want you to do it for them too. And that is how we begin sort of rowing the boat. Colin, I see your comment. There are so many ways to help serve people. We shouldn't limit ourselves to our traditional training. You couldn't be more right. You couldn't be more right. It takes that mentality to, instead of being afraid of the depths of the blue ocean, to realize that the vastness is what allows us to explore a whole new ecosystem. And I really think that whole new ecosystem is health. It's full on complete health. And we're staring at it. And so what I would urge everyone to do, think seriously about it. Start on Thursday. Start on Thursday with your family and your friends. Sit down, and maybe it's not your tradition, but start right there and just take a moment and truly say, hey, what am I thankful for this year? The year is not over. What am I thankful for this year? What kind of gratitude do I have? And what is my hope for next year? What is my hope for next year? Because if you start doing that and that seed starts planting in your brain, I guarantee by the end of 2018, you will have a couple of actionable strategies. It may be I need to learn more. It may be I need to do more. It may be I need to do more for self. It may mean I need to do more for others. But that may be where you come down. And the truth of the matter is if you get that far in the conversation, if you get to that point in your own brain, you will see everywhere around you opportunities to make that happen. All right, it's only Monday. I'm well over my time this morning. Well over. Only Monday. It's the 19th. Thanksgiving is staring us in the face. Make it count.